Hi everyone, welcome to Huawei Cloud Tech Talk. My name is Danny Chen. I'm a Senior Principal Architect at Huawei Cloud. Last time, we introduced GaussDB on Huawei Cloud. GaussDB is a new generation enterprise class database highlight with 5 highs and 2 smart capabilities. In this issue, we will dive into the high reliability of GaussDB, talk about the problems customers may face and how GaussDB solved them. Let's take one of the most critical systems as an example, the credit card system from a commercial bank. It requires 24/7 operation without any interruptions. Even the slightest interference can have a devastating result. Here are some possible failures. A server can go down, power can fail, natural disasters can happen, and even humans make mistakes. How does GaussDB prevent these problems from happening and provide a high reliable service? Let's take a look. In the face of inevitable nature disasters, a remote data center can help recover from this scenario. With different backup and restore policies, we can recover the system from hardware or software failures. Even the human errors can be recovered with a quick restore and point-in-time restore capability. GaussDB supports multiple DR deployment modes, such as intra-city, high availability, and the intra-city 3-zone deployment, and even geo-redundant data center, meeting the highest available requirement in various scenarios. First, let's look at the single AZ scenario. It's also called primary standby solution. It's typically deployed for non-core services that are sensitive to cost but don't have the high requirement on high availability and performance. In this case, logs from primary system are synchronously shipped to the standbys. Standby nodes continuously replay the logs and catching up with the primary. In the case of a primary fail, the standby can quickly promote to a primary node and continue the service right after the logs were replayed. Keep in mind that the logs have already been shipped to the standby, so there is no data loss. In the case of standby failure, there is no interruption to the service at all. So in this case, GaussDB guarantees a RTO less than 10 seconds. On top of that, the workload balancer can automatically route the request between the primary and the standby. Typically, the read-write requests are routed to the primary and the read-only requests are sent to the standby, so that there is no waste on your investment. Talk about the single AZ standby, primary standby scenario. Now let's look at the single region multi-AZ scenario. There could be multiple variants of this deployment scenario. First, the primary standby scenarios, which involves one primary AZ and multiple standby AZs. In this case, logs are continuously shipping to the standby AZs. But more commonly seen are the active deployment. In this case, all of the AZs are involved in the transaction. Most commonly are the two active peer deployment. So the two AZs can accept the read-write scenario at the same time, but underneath, the data replications, data nodes, are spread out across the multiple AZs. So in case of one AZ fail, there is nothing interrupt to the application at all. The other active AZs can immediately take over and continue serving the application. However, in this case, the third AZ is not part of the transaction processing. It works as a auxiliary AZ and holding the etcd services. That's the requirement, part of the requirement for etcd service using 3AZ. In the most demanding scenario, like the core banking system scenario, based on the preceding two DCHA deployment solution, GaussDB proposed the geo-redundant DR solution. In this case, we have a remote AZ deployed in a separate region. It takes the logs from one of the primary AZs in an asynchronous fashion. This is a dynamic decision from the primary AZs, so that it incurs less interruption effect to the primary AC. And we also have the replication service using stream compression technologies that will save the bandwidth and reduce the latency. To sum up, take the core finance system as an example. Reliable 24/7 services can be provided with GaussDB's multi-layer redundancy, high availability at software and hardware layer. GaussDB can be deployed with intra-city single DC, intra-city cross DC, and the geo-redundant mode to ensure database reliability based on the service requirement.